Good day, everyone. How is everybody? I hope you're having a great day so far. Um, good day, everyone. My name is John Mark Esma Bingnay, and I will be your instructor for today. And today we're going to discuss about critical discourse analysis. So, uh, the main objective of this synchronous session is number one is to coherently understand the components and function of critical discourse analysis. Number two is to differentiate critical discourse analysis, how this method differs from other methods, and lastly, to apply what we are going to learn today in real life situation. So I hope we can all achieve that objectives. So yeah, I am hoping for your ears, your participation. So yeah, let's start. So if I'm correct, in the previous synchronous session, you guys have already talked about discourse analysis. And actually, here is the most common, arguably the most famous on how we define discourse analysis. So, discourse analysis basically involves the study of language beyond the sentence, meaning beyond its on its syntactic rule and meaning. So discourse analysis analyze the language activity uh in various of factors like the relationship of the speaker and the other person that he is talking to, uh and genre of text, nonverbal aspects, and ano pa ba, register, culture, etc. So basically, that is discourse analysis in a nutshell. So you guys have already learned that on the previous synchronous class. So now we're going to talk about critical discourse analysis, which is almost similar and very connected to discourse analysis. Actually, a lot of linguists is arguing whether if critical discourse analysis and discourse analysis is just a similar thing. Some linguists argues that critical discourse analysis is just a subtype of discourse analysis, and some says that critical discourse analysis is a modified version of discourse analysis. And I'm not really sure what about those claims is right, but one thing that we are sure about is that critical discourse analysis has its unique aspect that somehow doesn't appear in a normal discourse analysis. And that is, it employs the critical perspective. So, this critical perspective embodies three main points. Number one is that it views social problems as institutionalized. Number two is it challenges unjust professional discourse. And lastly, it seeks social changes. So, critical discourse analysts are not afraid to criticize some mainstream media, mainstream news media, or an influential person who can create a very powerful statement. So critical discourse analysts analyze those statements, those articles by this media, by this company, by these big people, whether um, they are manipulating the language in a way that it can manipulate the people um, to to benefit their agenda. So yeah, basically that is um what critical discourse analysis is all about, and what do critical discourse analysts do. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So in this synchronous session, we are gonna be focusing on a one certain specific model, which is by Norman Fairclough. Norman Fairclough is one of the pioneer in in critical discourse analysis, especially in social linguistic. So yeah, in this current session, we are gonna be focusing on his model about critical discourse analysis. So Fairclough um serves as a three-dimensional type of model. So he claims that critical discourse analysis has three main dimensions, or three main factors. In dimension one, he mentions the text. In dimension two, he mentions the discursive practice, and lastly, in dimension three, he mentions the social practice. In dimension one, in text, Fairclough says that the first dimension is called text. Text can be speech, writing, images, or a mixture of all three forms of communication. We call this an analysis at word level. So, um, in this dimension, I guess it's more connected on genres of text, because the text can be analyzed in relation to the conventions and communicative aims of their genre. And then um the other simple explanation or interpretation for this is that when we are engaging in a language activity, in a communication, and we are communicating with the person or with the persons, um we have a choice of words. We are choosing our words to deliver our subject, to provide an attitude, to provide a description on what we are talking about, and those choice of words projects an image to our recipient. So, for example, I'm talking about my friend, and at some point of my talking, I've said in my statement that my friend is a nerd. So probably my recipient, or the other person that I'm talking to, um projects an image to his head, or and to her head, that my friend has an eyeglasses, braces, and other nerdy features. Um or on the other hand, when I say at some point on my speaking, that my friend is handsome, so probably my recipient projects an image on his head on whatever her definition of what handsome is. Maybe it looks like me, whatever. So yeah, that is the dimension one. Uh, it analyzed at a word level. So yeah, let's move on to the next dimension. And the next dimension is called discursive practice. Discursive practice involves production of text, or constitution of text. So this dimension is somehow more connected to nonverbal aspects, I guess, such as speech, tone of the voice of the speaker, pauses, gestures, and sounds like and then these aspects um provides us provides us the intentions of the speakers, the attitude of the speaker, or the emotion of the speaker while he's speaking. Is he being sarcastic? Is he being genuine? Is he angry? So, um, or discursive practice somehow also connected on conversational codes, like the interaction between the two people conversing, such as turn taking, and then yeah. So basically, that is a discursive practice is. And um lastly we have social practice. So social practice is about standards of society or the organization and effect of social structures. We call this norm level. So social practice. Social practice in this dimension it more s- uh it more referring to uh okay. So language creates opinions, right? Language creates opinions and it characterizes our attitude. So mainstream media releases some news and we we consume that information and as an individual it characterize our opinion our emotion to a certain specific issue to a certain to a certain specific matter. So, um, uh, for example, the war between Ukraine and Russia, a lot of people doesn't really have a deep knowledge about that matter, but the Western media or even the memes is telling us that uh, the bad guys in this situation are the Russians. So probably most of us, um, our opinion is our opinions is in favor of the Ukrainians. And yeah, I'm not saying that is wrong. I'm not saying that Russians are the good guys. Yeah, I'm just saying that that is the power of the language. It it influences the society. It influences the society to the point that we can have a similar opinion because certain big company said this specific thing. So yeah, basically that's a model of of Fairclough on critical discourse analysis. Fairclough's analytical approach assumes that language helps create change and can be used to change behavior. Language becomes a power tool. This is what he meant by critical discourse analysis. So now that we have an idea on what is critical discourse analysis is, how do we conduct our own critical discourse analysis. So this model that I'm going to present to you, or this is that I'm going to present to you, is based on Amy Liu or Amy Lau. I don't want to murder her last name, but yeah, it's her model. So Amy's model has four steps, four simple steps. Step one is to define the research question and select the content of analysis. So on step one, of course, you have to know what you want to know. You have to pick your topic of interest. Um, for example, maybe statements of Andrew Tate about depression, or the COVID-19 statistics reliability in the Philippines, or whatever do you prefer. And then next is to gather information and theory on the context. Like, for example, you choose to conduct I and conduct a CDA on Andrew Tate's statement about depression. You have to gather information about depression, read some theories about depression, about some psychological studies to maybe want to disprove Andrew Tate's claim that depression is not real. Yeah, which for me the statement is really shit. Um, yeah, so that is what step two is all about. Gather information, um, and conduct theories. I gather information and theories. So yeah, gather materials that will support your claim, or that will support your agenda. And then step three, analyze the contents for teams. Analyze the contents for teams and patterns. This step involves closely examining various elements such as words, sentences, how is it being used, overall structure, and relating them to to attributes, themes, and patterns relevant your to your research question. And then in step four, of course, you're going to have your conclusion. Of course, you have to scan the progress of your paper first, look back some errors, and then yeah, you will draw your conclusion about the matter. So that's how we conduct we conduct critical discourse analysis based on Amy Lu. By the way, this is not Amy Lu, this is Molan. Um, so in conclusion, um, critical discourse analysis basically says that language is equal to power. You as an individual, your statements, your claims, your words has a power to make or break a certain specific person. Um, and depending on your status, depending on what your status is, your language, your statement, your words becomes more powerful. For example, you're a teacher, your students, your words to your students is influential. It's powerful. That's why uh, teachers have this code of ethics, right? To not influence students about religion or politics based on their personal views, because they have power to influence the students. Teachers have this power to influence students. And then imagine this mainstream media who have millions of followings, or this big persons or companies. Their power is much bigger. It's much greater. And this is why critical discourse analysis is relevant, because there has to be someone who is watching their words, um so that um the public has another angle to look onto. And yeah, um we can say that critical discourse analysis is the best method in research, or in analyzing or criticizing some text or statements, because it could be a double-edged sword. While doing a CDA, you could be uh, a bias yourself as a as an critical discourse analyst. Um, but yeah, as a human being, I guess we should be responsible on how we use our language, and as a learner, as a researcher, we should be critical on how we reserve, or how how we absorb information. And yeah, that is the end of this synchronous session. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you learned something. If you have questions, you can DM me or ask in our group chat. Thank you everyone. Have a great day ahead.